I've seen it happen way too often. You go online, spot a cheap-looking speaker set for a couple of $100, click add to cart. And then a few weeks later you're sitting on the couch listening to your favorite track and wondering why the bass sounds like it's coming from a cardboard box. The disappointment is almost immediate, and the regret sticks around longer than the excitement of the purchase. That's why I wanted to talk about a speaker system that promises to be a smarter buy, especially if you're serious about home audio but don't want to end up with a set that sounds great on paper and terrible in the room. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When the SVS Ultra Evolution 3-way tower speakers first hit the market, the buzz was all about their quad 5.5-inch woofers and a diamond-coated aluminum dome tweeter. I dove into the usual mix of spec sheets, manufacturer videos, and countless forum threads where audiophiles dissected each component. What stood out wasn't just the glossy black finish or the sleek curve of the front baffle, it was the idea of a force-balanced array that actually tries to keep the low-frequency drivers moving in opposite directions to reduce cabinet vibration. In theory, that should mean tighter, cleaner bass without the rattling that cheap towers often throw at you. The first thing I asked myself was, who would actually benefit from a pair like this? The short answer is anyone who already has a decent AVR or a reasonably powerful integrated amp and is looking to upgrade from entry-level bookshelf speakers or a mediocre soundbar. If you've been listening on a 2- or 3-year-old set that sounds flat in the mids and struggles to fill a medium-sized living room, the Ultra Evolution's 3-way architecture can add a noticeable lift. On the flip side, if your listening space is a cramped studio apartment or you're still using a TV's built-in speakers, you'll probably find the size and power of these towers overkill. You'll end up with a lot of headroom you'll never use, and the price tag might feel unjustified. I set them up in my own listening room, which is a fairly typical suburban living room about 15 feet wide, hardwood floors, a decent amount of furniture, and a modest acoustic treatment in the form of a rug and a couple of wall hangings. I used a mid-range AVR that can deliver around 80 watts per channel into 8-ohm loads. The speakers arrived in a snug box with just the basics, a pair of speaker stands, a user manual, and a set of measurement stickers for the cabinet. The first thing I noticed was how quickly the woofers settled into the room. The quad 5.5-inch drivers are positioned in a force-balanced arrangement, meaning 2 face forward and 2 face backward, which claims to reduce cabinet resonance. In practice, the result was a bass response that felt solid but not boometh. The low notes in a track like Billie Jean stayed tight, and I didn't get the kind of thump-thump that can make a room feel like it's shaking. Now, the tweeter is a diamond-coated aluminum dome, which the manufacturer says improves high-frequency detail. Listening to orchestral recordings, especially the subtle string harmonics in Mahler's symphonies, there was a clear lift in the treble without the harshness that cheap domes can introduce. The detail was noticeable when I cranked up a jazz piano track. The attack of each key was crisp, and the sustain blended nicely. That said, the tweeter's brilliance is still somewhat dependent on room acoustics. In a very reflective room with hard surfaces all around, I could hear a faint sibilance on vocal tracks. A simple piece of acoustic foam placed directly behind the speakers helped tame that, but it's a reminder that even the best drivers need a well-treated space to shine. One practical strength I didn't expect was the way the cabinet's curved front baffle works with the internal chamber design. The company says each internal chamber is acoustically tuned, and while I'm not a scientist, the result was a more focused soundstage. In a movie scene with a wide-angle panorama, you could actually pinpoint sound sources. A helicopter rotor swished from left to right with precise timing, and the dialogue stayed anchored to the screen. This kind of spatial accuracy can be a game-changer for home theater enthusiasts who want the cinema feel without the need for a dedicated sound field processor. But there are hidden trade-offs. The towers are fairly tall, just under 5 feet, which means they dominate the visual space in a smaller room. If you're someone who values a minimalist aesthetic or you have limited wall space, you'll need to consider the mounting options. The stands that come with the pair are sturdy, but they add extra height, which could push the tweeter above the optimal ear level for seated listening. Some reviewers have suggested wall-mounting the speakers with a custom bracket to keep the tweeter at ear height, but that adds another cost and installation step. Another practical weakness is the power requirement. While the speakers are rated to handle